It is so great to see you again and great to be here. When you consider all the issues before the American people, why is education so important to you?
Well, first of all, because I wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for a good education. I was raised by a single mom. We didn't have a lot of wealth, and the one thing that she gave me was a great education from early in life. And so everything that I have, I owe to education. And whenever I drive by uh, streets where young people are hanging out, don't seem to have prospects or hopes for the future, uh, I can identify with those kids. I understand that if I hadn't had opportunity in terrific schools, then that could be me. And I want to make sure every child has that same opportunity. Now, I also am concerned because our economy and our democracy depend on how well our children are educated. We're not going to be able to compete in the global economy if our young people aren't getting the skills that they need, because knowledge is the key to wealth and the ability to earn a living wage in today's global economy. But also, our democracy doesn't work if our citizens can't evaluate the information that they're being told, if they can't participate and advocate for themselves. On every front, you know, our way of life, upward mobility, opportunity, democracy depends on making sure kids are getting a good education and that our school system is given the support it needs.
Senator, several of the candidates have had listening posts with teachers around the state of Iowa. You have hosted teachers on the school bus and listened to them tell their stories from their heart about their woes of the classroom. You've held roundtable discussions. I was a part of one over in Dubuque. And you truly are the one that tells us that we can't continue to do things the way we are and expect different results. So, with that, what do you think is the biggest challenge that we're facing in education today? And how does your plan that you rolled out in New Hampshire a few weeks ago address the challenges?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, we've got to make sure our children are prepared when they get to school. And that means effective early childhood education, not just pre kindergarten, but from the time they're born. We've got to make sure that kids are getting the information they need. They need their numbers, their letters, know their shapes, have been read to, have been able to expand their vocabulary because people are talking to them and reading to them. And most parents give their child all the love that they need, but particularly among poor children, oftentimes they're not getting everything they need. Maybe because the parent uh, isn't a high school graduate themselves, doesn't have everything that they need to help that child get prepared. So we've got to help those kids. And what I've done is I've made a significant commitment, billions of dollars, to ensuring that children are getting prepared. And that will help us close the achievement gap that we see between minority kids and the general population, or between poorer kids and wealthier kids. And the second most important ingredient for success in schools is teachers. That person standing in front of the classroom. And you're right, I've been traveling, Linda, all across the state, and the extraordinary commitment that people have to teaching is just is inspiring. But right now, teachers feel pretty embattled. I mean, I met a young lady in Southwest Iowa who was having to work at the donut shop making donuts when she wasn't working in class because she just wasn't getting paid enough money. We've got to pay our teachers more. We can't simply talk about how great they are. We've got to reward them for their greatness. We've got to give higher salaries across the board. We also have to give them more support, particularly young teachers who are just starting off. So one of the things that my plan does is to provide the kinds of training and mentorship that young teachers need so that they can be effective in the classroom and don't drop out in those first 5 years. The third thing that we've got to do is to make sure that people feel valued for the work that they've done. And No Child Left Behind has been a complete failure in including teachers and helping them to succeed in the classroom. Instead, it's been a punitive measure where one standardized test determines how much money the schools are getting, determines what courses are being offered, how much resources are being put into critical learning areas like art and music. And so what I've said is that we cannot reauthorize No Child Left Behind as it's currently constituted. We've got to work with teachers to find those kinds of assessment tools that accurately reflect the hard work that's being done in the classroom, and teachers are part of the process of coming up with those tools that they agree to and that they feel good about. And until we do that, I think it's going to be very difficult for teachers not to feel as if they are embattled and blamed for the lack of the resources that are needed.
Senator, I was in the Assembly Hall in Philadelphia this summer with those 9,000 delegates of the NEA Representative Assembly. And when you spoke, you told the delegates that, first of all, we need to pay teachers more for the work that they're doing. And then you said that we may need to look at paying teachers differently. Does your plan, you really have been knocked for this merit pay issue. So does your plan include merit pay?
If merit pay is understood as teachers getting paid for how kids are doing on a standardized test, absolutely not. That is not fair to the teachers. It doesn't reflect what's going on in the classroom. It would undermine, I think, a lot of the efforts that need to take place to improve our children's performance. What I've said is I want to create a career ladder for teachers where, if they're a master teacher who is mentoring younger teachers, that's a way they should get paid more money. If they get nationally board certified or they are taking various professional steps to expand their skills, that should be an opportunity for them to increase pay. If they are in a subject area where there's a shortage, like science teachers or math teachers, that may be something that we want to consider. If we need more teachers in rural schools or hard to teach inner city schools, that may be an opportunity for teachers to be paid more. And if teachers decide that that they feel comfortable with how they're being assessed, and they want to figure out school-wide systems or individual systems whereby teachers are getting rewarded additionally, I am open to experiments at the local school level as long as they are part of the agreement that's made between teachers and school districts under a collective bargaining agreement. What I will not allow is a situation in which these proposals or innovations are imposed on top of teachers. Teachers have to have ownership and buy-in in terms of how they are being evaluated and how they are being judged and how they're being compensated. In the absence of that, then you're going to continue to see, I think, a lot of teachers leave the profession or feel discouraged. And we want teachers to feel as if they are being treated with the honor and the respect that they deserve as I think, one of the most important professionals that we have.
You and Michelle are the proud parents of two beautiful daughters, and you're involved in every stage of their development. And you've repeatedly talked about how parents are the child's first and best teachers. But when they come to school, as president, how will you help us set an expectation that schools, including all our staff, school board members, community members, policymakers, children, are all involved in providing the opportunity to be real partners in the child's education?
Well, this is something I talk about all the time. We have to make sure that teachers are getting what they need in order to do their jobs. But part of what they need is engaged parents. And as President of the United States, I want to continually send a message to parents: you've got responsibilities. It's not enough for you just to drop your kid off at school and then forget about them. And then when those children come home from school, the TV set's on, they're playing video games, nobody's helping to make sure that those kids are doing their homework or communicating with teachers. If there's a problem area that they need to work on, that's part of the job, I think, of president, is to help change the culture and our expectations. And that includes, by the way, discipline. One of the difficulties that I think a lot of teachers have is maintaining discipline in a classroom where children may be coming from disruptive environments. Oftentimes They may not have the kind of supervision, particularly after school, that they need. And so we want the government to help, particularly low-income kids, make sure that they've got after-school programs and summer school programs, safe places for them to work and to continue to learn after school hours. But we also have to institute the kinds of policies inside the school where clear expectations are set for student behavior, and teachers and parents and paraprofessionals and other educators inside the classroom, all of them, everybody's agreeing to what's expected from our students. And what we've seen is that when that happens, when those clear expectations are set, you actually can reduce suspensions, reduce expulsions, children do better, they learn more, and that ultimately is what all of us want to see.
Senator, as you know, nearly one half of the teachers that are currently in the classroom will be retiring over the next 5 years. You often speak about recruiting a whole new generation of teachers, people to work in the classrooms. How are we going to encourage new folks to come into the classroom and stay in the profession?
Well, one of the biggest barriers to young people going into teaching is financial. And what I've said is that we are going to provide scholarships for young people who are committed to teaching and make sure that by the time they are out of college and are ready to pursue a teaching career, that they can afford to do it. That's one of the biggest things that we can do. And as I said earlier, the second most important thing that we can do is to make sure that young people are getting the kind of training early on and support that they need to succeed in the classroom. Because oftentimes I think young people underestimate how tough teaching is. My sister is a teacher, and I remember when she first started, she was idealistic and ready to go, and after a few months of teaching, she was still inspired, but she was pretty tired because she suddenly realized, that preparing lesson plans and grading papers and dealing with some of the emotional problems that some of her kids were experiencing because she was teaching in a low-income area in a public school, that she needed more help and more support, and sometimes she wasn't getting it from the administration and from the school board where she was teaching. And so creating teachers' academies where young people can go and apprentice with a master teacher for a certain period of time before they get placed in the classroom, making sure that they've got enough professional development opportunities and the time to continually hone their skills. All those things make an enormous difference in assuring that teachers continue to pursue the careers that I think is one of the most important ones in our society.
As you know, there are many candidates running for President of the United States, and but of all, why you? Why Barack Obama? Why would you be the best to reform education in this country?
Well, I have a track record of working on behalf of these issues. I worked on them on the streets of Chicago when I was a community organizer, helping to reform Chicago schools and provide opportunities for young people to go to college that didn't have them before. As a state senator, I worked diligently on drastically increasing early education dollars for our kids and working with the teachers union to assure that they got the support that they needed and that innovation included teacher input. And at the U.S. Senate level, I'm on the Education Committee and have consistently worked with teachers, parents, and advocacy organizations to make sure that we are adequately funding our schools, that we're living up to our commitments on special education dollars, that we are re-examining No Child Left Behind so that it's working for instead of against educators that are doing their utmost in the classroom. So I've got a track record of bringing about change. And the other thing I think I bring to this race, though, is an understanding that I would not be here if it wasn't for an excellent education. And that part of my job as president is to make sure that every single child in America has the same chance that I had. That's what I'm going to be fighting for, and I think that's what I can deliver, working with educators, parents, and the American people.